want to talk about residential real estate disclosures. For the vast majority of any transfer of residential real estate in Ohio, there are a couple of mandatory disclosures that have to be made. In these disclosures, for any of these residential disclosures, there's a residential disclosure form. This is a standardized form that if you've ever bought or sold property, you might have looked at, right? And that form will outline all of the mandatory disclosures. The big ones have to do with any known defect that has occurred within the last 5 years. The big ones are things about the roof, things about the electric in the building, plumbing, sewer, any kind of water intrusion, right? Those are the big ones. There are some other ones, but in terms of what you care about for your property, those are also the big ones that have the most expensive repairs that are associated with them. If you get a property with a bad roof or a bad foundation, you're looking at tens of thousands, right? If you get a property with peeling paint, you're looking at 1,000, right? There's a very stark difference. The other kind of disclosures that have to go on here have to do with federal disclosures. There are two big ones. One is lead. Lead. In Cuyahoga County, this is especially important. There's a federal and state requirement that you disclose any known lead issues, and if you have a property that was built prior to 1973 in and around Cuyahoga County, you have to disclose that there might be lead, right? And this is true for any of these properties. And in Cleveland, this requirement is even stronger. If you do not provide a certificate of disclosure saying, I have disclosed the risks of lead, or I have disclosed whether there's a lead hazard control order or anything like that, the recorder's office in Cuyahoga County, that's the fiscal's office, is allowed to stop that transaction and prevent it from going forward. Or if it slips through in some way, Cleveland's local ordinance says that the buyer can unwind that transaction. That means that they can make the seller buy back the property if that disclosure is not made. The other big one has to do with sex offenders. You have to make a disclosure as to whether you have, in any of your knowledge, any sex offenders living within a certain circumference of your property. If you're using a realtor, right, hopefully they are providing all of these documents to you. You're making these mandatory disclosures. They're going out. We have run into times when these documents are going back and forth, or they're presumed to go back and forth, and realtors or individuals have checked in the purchase agreement that these disclosures have already been received. When they have not, check your purchase agreement carefully to make sure that we aren't prematurely checking those boxes. Make sure that those disclosures, those mandatory disclosures, are actually received from the other side, because the consequences for not making the disclosure can be very heavy, right? These apply even in as is, where is. We make no representations or warranties, types of purchases, types of transfers. That form has to be included, or the buyer could rescind the entire transaction. If you have more questions about mandatory disclosures, feel free to reach out to our office.